Jen with Augusta Caregiver Recruiting. We help home care agency owners recruit amazing caregivers like the one I'm talking to today, Carmen. So I've got Carmen on the line with me, and I'm going to get the opportunity to ask her a whole bunch of questions about her background and how she got into this. And really excited to have you here, Carmen.
Yeah, thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah. So I'd love to just have you start by telling me a little bit about who you are and your background and how you got into caregiving.
Yeah. My name's Carmen, and I have 5 kids, and I have
Wow.
one that is a firefighter, and
Amazing.
yeah, and one that just graduated, and then the other ones are still in school. So, um,
Awesome.
I got into caregiving. I loved helping people out, any age group
Hmm.
I help. Mostly I got into caregiving because I seen like my grandmother or my mother, they're not really at that spot where they need help right now, but I just said, you know what, I'm going to help other people that need my help because I see it as, you know, I want a caregiver if I'm not able to care for my grandmother or my mother, if I have a caregiver taking care of them, I would like for them to take care of them how the way I take care of my clients, my patients, loving, caring, and I see it like as a family. I know they're not my family, but I see it like a family, thing to care for them, because they do need loving and caring, and that's how I am, and um, I want other people to take care of my mother and my grandmother the same way as I do.
Yeah.
Which I
Yeah.
hopefully, they do, but hopefully I'm the one that takes care of them. So when it gets
Mm,
to that point, yeah,
yeah, that's really beautiful. I think what you said resonates with me so much because it's that feeling that, like, we're all gonna be there, you know?
yeah,
Like,
yes, no matter what, yeah.
no matter what, we're all gonna
Mhm.
be there, and so, putting that good out into the world, and helping people in that way because you want it to come back around to you,
Yeah,
I think that's really meaningful, really important. Yeah.
I had.
Oh,
Okay, go ahead.
sorry.
I'm
Oh, I was
sorry.
gonna ask how long you've been, doing this work.
It's been 11 years already.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I was doing warehouse too, and at the same time part time caregiving, and
Mhm,
so I went to warehouse just for another second job. So I stayed
mhm.
there for a while, but I didn't really like it because you know how it is there and everything, and I don't know. To me, I like what I like doing. So it's like no, because my brother's supervisor there, so I was like I had to tell my brother I have to leave. This is not a job for me. I have to just stick to my caregiving and that's it.
Mhm.
And so since then, I just been at my caregiving job, and sometimes I work 2 different, um, jobs like from companies, and
Mhm.
I have over like sometimes 3 patients, 3 clients
Mhm.
at different times
Yeah.
with sometimes the same company or with a different company. So yeah, and I work Monday through Sunday, and yeah, I still have time with my family. I make sure I have time with my family, but I do like having time with my patients and my clients, to do my job what I like to do in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must be hard to fit it all in,
Yeah.
with a big family and potentially up to 3 clients. That, yeah, that could I can imagine your schedule is probably pretty crazy
Yeah.
sometimes. So, what keeps you in it? Like, you've been doing it for 11 years now, and you tried the warehouse thing, and that wasn't for you. So, yeah, what do you think keeps you going?
I don't know the elderly people.
Mhm,
Um they I don't know. Some of them are lonely, and some of them, don't have family. They have is us, or the caregivers. And so, yeah, I see it as I'm there for them, to listen to them, to talk to them, and to try to be there for them,
Mhm.
and so they like me. They always tell me, I wish I could record them, but I don't. And yeah, I have certificates from other companies how my job is, good
Mhm.
job and everything. But like mostly all my elderly people, they tell me, "Oh man, God sent me an angel. I'm so glad, God
Aw.
sent me an angel." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." So, and sometimes it feels like it gets to me, I'm like, I get happy, I'm like, "Thank you." I said, but I just like what I do. I just appreciate like what I do. That's, I don't know, my from my heart. That's just from me. I don't know. A lot
Yeah.
of people tell me I have a good heart. I'm good at what I do. I'm a hard worker, because I do what I have to do. I don't just sit there or just talk to them. I have time, I set my time to sit there to talk to them for a while and then do what I have to do for them, and and go along while sometimes when I'm cleaning right there by them, I still talk to them,
Right.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know, they get so close to me, like, like family, and it's sad when, they're passing when it's time for them and they pass, and it just hurts because I had a couple that, passed, and I was working for them, and it does hurt. It's like family, because
Yeah.
with one client, I'm already with her for 2.5 years, and one client I'm with him already a year and a half. So
Mhm.
they get so close to me and they don't want me to leave, or they tell me I don't want nobody else but you, or
Yeah.
if I haven't even had no like vacation ever since
Oh,
I like worked, it's kind of hard because they tell me, "Oh, I don't want nobody else here but you," and and it's so hard, but I'm like, I have to take a vacation, with my
yeah.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to
So,
take care of yourself sometimes, I mean, we all have
yeah.
to, you
Yeah,
know?
and it's kind of sometimes hard, but and sometimes when I'm not there, like for a day or so or 2 days, I just think about them, or I call them on occasion, like, "How you doing? How was it?
Yeah.
Oh, good. How are you? I miss
Mhm.
you. I need you to come." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So yeah, and then sometimes like with agencies, sometimes they alternate caregivers, and some of them tell me, I don't, like that caregiver, I wanted you back. So I had to call them and tell them, no, just to send you, I want you, I got used to you. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's good. I'm glad that you feel comfortable with me and you like me.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah, that I mean, after caring for somebody for 2 years or a year and a half, I mean, that I think that's a really strong, strong bond, that you
yeah.
make with that person because it's such intimate work as you know. I mean, it's like, the things you do together are really personal, you know?
Oh yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it becomes a really strong relationship, and I mean, that's beautiful. It almost made me cry when you you said
Yeah.
that, they feel like God sent an angel,
An
like,
angel. Yeah,
that's really
it feels
beautiful.
so good. Yeah. And I'm like, "Oh,
Mhm.
thank you very much." And I had like a couple of them tell me the same thing. I'm like, "Oh, wow." I had just another client, tell me that, I had like at least 5, 6 elderly people tell me that. I'm like, "Oh, thank you very much. You don't know how much that means to me, And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and the ones who I really like to take care of too, is to care for, is the disabled, the ones that like, I was in a facility with 6 girls that were like in their 30s and 40s, but they seemed like, babies because they couldn't care for themselves, and some of them couldn't talk in that, and so they'll see me, and their reaction, they were happy to see me. They'll greet me in and be all happy. There was one that couldn't talk, and she would just be, oh, with her her laugh and trying to talk, but that's how she would talk, like, greet me in, and she would be so happy waiting for me at the door. And I felt so good because, they can feel you and see how you are, without telling you because they can't talk. So I was there for like a year, but and then I quit because that's when I moved up to Vegas. So it was really hard
Oh,
for me, and but I couldn't go back because then I had two other kids, and that job was like I was working there like my whole life was there. That's
yeah.
when I didn't have no like younger kids. My kids were kind of older already,
Mhm.
my three older ones, and so I couldn't go back over there, and because it's a really busy job to do, but I really loved it. I really love to like work and be busy what I'm doing, you know.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and I totally know what you mean about um the people that you care for who the ones who can't even verbally tell you important it is to them.
yeah,
Yeah, I had a resident who uh who was just like that. She was nonverbal. Um, this was several years ago now, so I actually can't remember what um, condition she had, but I could just see it in her eyes. Every time that I would help her, whether it was helping to feed her or change her or something like that. Like you
yeah,
can see it even when they don't tell you.
yes,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And so I really like enjoying doing that with the disabled in that because it's
Mhm,
like you put more of yourself into it because they like because they have the facility had all kinds of different caregivers coming in, and they only pick certain ones that they're comfortable with and who they like. And
mhm.
so I was one of them, and and so they're like, oh gosh, Carmen, you're loved by everyone. I'm like, thank you. Even animals, like even pets, they're like, oh my god, I can't believe my dog likes you or whatever. And if it takes them time, I'm like, oh, thank you. I said, I don't know what it is with me, but even animals get along with me. They come quick. They get attached to me quick. I'm like, I can't explain that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that, that's amazing. I love it. Um, so what are some of or maybe one of the most memorable moments for you as a caregiver?
um, just like as a caregiver, I can't even think of one because there's a lot of them. But just like um one time, like when what is it? I can't even think
It's
of
okay.
which one. Yeah, I
That's
just
okay.
all of them just you know yeah.
Uh, yeah, everything.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you this. What do you look I mean, so obviously, I think it's clear that you're really driven by the actual work itself, like helping people and getting to be their support and their angel but what else do you want to get out of your job? Like what are some of the other things that are important to you about your job and maybe the employer that you work for?
About well, the one I work for, I know like it won't get me really nowhere because they're with the state. So,
Mhm.
the people come in and out of there. But like when I had worked for a facility, they said that I do my job so good and that I can even go higher up to working into the office and
Mm,
train other caregivers or give the classes to other caregivers. Like orientation and teach them, some skills because there's some that come in and with caregiving and they don't have no skills, no knowledge and what they're doing in caregiving. And I had a couple of people that I ran into that they don't know what they're doing and how they ask for my help. How do you do this, or how do you put
Yeah.
emphasis, and how could you do this? I mean, it's so much patience, it's so much work, and I don't know how you could do this. Some of them stress out, and I'm just like, you just gotta take it easy, be calm, and put yourself into it. I tell them, just you know look at it as like if it's your own family, and
Mhm.
that you're taking care of, your own family. How do you want to your family to be treated? Like that's how the way you take care of other people. Like if it's your mom, if it's your dad, if it's your grandpa, if it's your grandmother, etc. Just and some time I can't. I'm like, okay, if you can't, then this is not a job for you. You
Mm.
know, because like they said, there's only one job that's for you, and that's it. Because there's even some people that come to me and tell me, I'm not here. Why am I here for? I'm just here like for the money. I'm like, I just look at them. I'm like, then this is not a job for you. If you're here for the money, then this is not for you, because caregiving is about caring for the people
Mhm.
that you take care of.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I had a kind of a lot of people that didn't like me at like facilities, because of my work, and you know,
Mm.
so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that I can understand that that's like a totally different set of values, to think about it that way, that it's totally about the money. So
Mhm.
yeah, the other thing that I feel like I just heard from you is that like it's important, or at least well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like one of the things that's important to you is getting those chances to do even more, like train caregivers and maybe even work in the office, and like those types of career advancement opportunities where you can kind of share all of the things that you've learned over these years with other caregivers.
Yes.
Um, yeah. Yeah, that totally makes sense. I mean, after 11 years, I would think that you've got a few things that you could teach other caregivers.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Eh, yeah.
Uh,
There's like a couple of people tell me, why don't you work in the hospital? Why don't you, go up more higher? You need, and I tell them I do. That's what I plan on doing. But and then in the back of my mind, in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm used to caregiving. I'm used to caring for the people who I care for, and that need my help. I said, I know, hospitals need a lot of help too. And I said, elderly people. That's what I like to do. To do is
yeah.
work with my elderlies, or even children that have health issues or problems, that
Yeah.
I can help, So
Hmm.
I'm just like stuck. I'm like, I like what I do. I
Yeah.
I don't see myself doing anything else like flipping hamburgers. I never tried that, but I can't see myself doing that. And then I tried the warehouse, and that wasn't for me. I'm like, no. And I'm like, I have to stick to just my caregiving. That's what I like to do, is my
Yeah.
caregiving and
Yeah.
meeting
That's
different
awesome.
people. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So you talked about how you sometimes have up to three clients. So how often are you usually looking for other clients, and where do you usually look for them?
yeah, sometimes I look at online, or
Hmm.
there's Craigslist, because they have the jobs opportunity, or the
Hmm.
Indeed,
Hmm.
um, all that, or I just look it up on Google, and I just push in, caregiving, and so that's how I look for the jobs.
Cool.
Or
Um,
even when I'm out there shopping in stores, and then they see me in my scrubs, they ask me, where do I work, what do I do, and sometimes that's how sometimes I get my clients, even in stores, helping people, elderly people.
yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. How do you? How often do you do that? Like, so do you usually only look for a client if one of your current client passes away, or when, or how, yeah, how often do you usually
Yeah, I
look
do
for?
that like really often. Because I usually do work like in the morning and like in the afternoons till the nighttime. And on
Mhm.
Saturdays and Sundays, sometimes I work on in the mornings or the night times also to get in, the schedule to be with, my family to do family outings on Saturdays or Sundays, at least
Yeah.
once every other weekend. Or I do overnights, like let's say from 10 at night to like 4 o'clock in the morning, because my husband does work also too, so I have to be back, before my husband needs to work because my kid does not stay with nobody else. So you
Right.
know I have to come in, before he goes to work and I be in here, so it kind of works out with our schedule, you know
Yeah.
so.
Cool. Um, Awesome. So my last couple of questions for you. So what would make you leave a company? And what do you think home care agency owners can improve on to make your job better?
Well, usually sometimes I do not leave like some companies. Um, Sometimes I do, like when I can't work like really no more clients, or it don't work out for that company, and like let's say I had before, like they were on time with my paycheck, or
Mm,
they weren't there. Like they weren't giving me enough client, like to work, like
no,
work
hours.
yeah, work
Yeah.
hours.
Hmm.
And that's the reason why. But other than that, I don't really leave the company. Yeah.
Yeah. Though that's totally understandable. If my paycheck were super late, or if you just needed, I mean, if the client hours couldn't, like, didn't fit into your schedule, or there weren't enough of them, I mean, those are totally reasonable. Like, I mean, I think anyone would go, uh, try and find something else if
Yeah.
either of those things happened. Um, so yeah, I don't, I totally get it. Um, is there anything else you think home care agencies could improve on to just like help make your job better in general?
Um, I don't think so. There was a couple of them. I don't know, and I worked with one. I'm not, saying no names or anything,
Yeah,
but there
sure.
is a couple of like agencies in that they do check your background. Some of them does check your background, but some of them don't. And then
Oh
half of
wow.
them, yeah, half of them don't do drug tests. And I know there's a lot of couple of people that I know that um do drugs and they still work with elderly people. And I'm like,
Oh man.
yeah, and I'm like, how could you be working in that field? I don't know. I just get upset of that. And I had even when I get interview with facilities or different people, I'm like, and they tell me what is the most thing that's more important, that we should do, or something, or other, companies should do. And I tell them the same thing. I'm like, the thing is that what I don't like is or what facilities or companies should do is drug tests, because these are elderly people that you're taking care of, and they're people, they're human beings too. And some of them, I have worked with elderly people and say that they get abused, they get yelled at,
Mm,
physical abuse, or stuff stolen from them, or the caregiver comes in acting all weird, or even sometimes smelling like alcohol, and I'm
mm,
like, no, that's not right, and sometimes they do call the facility or whatever, and they don't do anything, about it. They just say, oh, we'll do something about it, and then they don't. I'm like, oh, I know, I'm sorry to hear. I said, yeah, that's definitely the most thing that upsets me, because I won't want nobody coming in taking care of my mother or grandmother
Yeah.
on any kind of, substance, illegal substance, or alcohol.
Mhm.
There's time for, I know the alcohol to do it on, on their own time when they're not at work or going to
Right.
work.
Yeah.
But other than, I'm saying like drugs, like, the other kind of drugs, I think, I don't know, nobody like that should be hired. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally understandable. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just it sucks to hear that you've had that experience.
Yeah. And I'm
Um,
like, ugh, why do you guys work there, when you guys are
yeah.
all high on something and, that's not right.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't believe that you've worked with agencies or companies that have not, drug tested or background checked. I mean, like, that's
Yeah.
not cool. Um, yeah, because I mean, I mean, it's such a as you said, I mean, it's such a vulnerable population of people, older adults, people with disabilities, like, they're very
Yes.
vulnerable,
Yeah.
like, wow.
Yeah,
Um,
and I just get
yeah.
kind of like, upset about of that because I
Yeah.
don't think that's right. That's not professional, you know.
No.
Even with
Yeah,
the company too. That's,
wow.
I don't know. That's how I feel. That's how I sometimes tell the one who's interviewing, but mostly it'll be like the manager or the owner, and I tell
Mhm.
them, and they're like, "No, we do that," and some there is quite a few that I went to, and they do not, drug test,
Wow.
and I'm just like, you know, yeah.
That's incredible.
Mm.
And I mean, yeah, I think we can all agree that
Yeah.
that is extremely important and everybody should be doing it.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, well, Car Carmen, thank you so much for answering all these questions and helping me understand what it's like for you to be a caregiver and what everybody in the industry can do better, honestly. Um, so thank you so much for your time. I just really loved hearing your story. So I really appreciate you.
Okay, thank you, Jen, very much for me having the opportunity to do this.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.